4 high schools, 7 middle schools, 1 college, and a university, and much more. Now introducing your most comprehensive weekly local sports show in Madison County, the Richmond Register Sports Show. The Richmond Register Sports Show is brought to you by Metronet, superfast internet, simply a better connection. Central Kentucky Pressure Washing, Total Comfort, heating and air conditioning. Let Total Comfort keep you cool or warm this winter. Call for service or for a free replacement quote. And by MEL'S BARBER SHOP, established 2019. Walk-ins welcome. Visit them 102 St. George Street in Richmond. And by kymedia.net, digital media solutions on your terms. Here's your host for all things local sports, the Richmond Register Sports Editor, Nathan Hutchison.
Welcome to this week's edition of the Richmond Register Sports Show. My name is Nathan Hutchinson. I'm the sports editor of the Richmond Register, and we very much appreciate you checking us out this week. Coming up here in just a few minutes, we're going to have 2 very cool segments this week. First of all, Madison Central senior Jeffrey Kinley stopped by earlier this week to talk to us about his commitment to play football at Eastern Kentucky University. And then we're going to wrap up the show with a very interesting segment that we did earlier this week with one of the best high school pole vaulters in the country, Madison Central junior Wyatt Stewart. He kind of gave us a little pole vaulting 101. We went over there, over to the pole vault pit at Central with him, and he walked us through the entire process from poles to standards to heights and all kinds of good stuff. So it was a very interesting time, and we appreciate him taking a few minutes to speak to us earlier this week. So be sure to hang around and check that out. But as always, we like to start the show the same way we do every week, with a recap of the week that was in Madison County sports. It was the first week of high school spring sports across Kentucky. Here in Madison County, we had a little bit of a limited schedule. A lot of teams didn't play this first week, but we do have some good stuff to tell you about. And we're going to start off with high school baseball and with the Berea Community Pirates. And on Saturday, they opened their season by picking up a pair of wins over Buckhorn on the road. They picked up a 6-2 win and an 18-2 win in 4 innings on the road over Buckhorn. In the first game, it was Cody Roberts with a home run, and Billy Strife was 3 for 3 with 2 doubles, a triple, and 2 RBIs. And in the second game, it was Logan Abney with 3 walks, and he also scored 3 times. And Billy Strife was 2 for 3 with 2 runs, 2 walks, and 2 RBIs. So the Pirates off to a 2-0 start to the season with a pair of wins over Buckhorn, and they'll be back in action Monday at home against Lincoln County. Madison Central, after getting to the region championship game last year, lost 12 seniors. 6 of those kids are off playing baseball in college, but the Indians do have some returners back with some experience, and they have lots of young talent. The Indians just always reload over there under Coach Steve Roof. They opened their season with 3 games last week. On Thursday, it was a 5-4 loss to Sayre up in Lexington, and then on Saturday they traveled to Jackson, where they picked up a win over Breathitt County and a win over Paintsville, number 11 Paintsville. In the loss to Sayre, the Indians were up 4-0, but Sayre scored 5 times in the 5th to come back and pick up the victory. A strong performance from starting pitcher Bradley Pointer, 4 1/3 innings, gave up just 5 hits and 2 runs. Matt Johns, Bryson Howe, and Daniel Bauer with 2 hits each. And the Indians were down 5-4 in the 7th inning and had runners at 2nd and 3rd with nobody out, but was not able to push across the winning run. So forward on to Saturday at the 7-3 victory over Breathitt County. It was Keith Stewart. He walked twice and scored 3 times. Hayden Robbins, had a double and an RBI, and Gunnar Rodas scored twice. And in the win over number 11 Paintsville, that was a 9-7 victory. The Indians were down 7-3, but scored 6 times in the 6th inning to come back and take the lead and eventually claim the victory. Matt Johns was 3 for 3. Scored a couple of runs, and Bradley Pointer had three RBIs. On the mound, it was sophomore Eli Metcalf, got the start, 3 1/3 innings, allowing just 3 runs, only 2 earned. So Central off to a 2-1 start to the season already, including a victory over a ranked team. So Madison Central will be back in action Monday night against Madison Southern. That game will be played at Berea College. And speaking of Madison Southern, the Eagles had a pair of games last week. On Thursday, they went over to Western Hills and picked up a 15-8 victory in Frankfort. And then on Saturday, it was a 10-0 5-inning loss at Walton Verona. Let's start with the good news. The one on Thursday, the win over Western Hills. The Eagles had 18 hits in that game. It was Caden Carr-White, 3 for 5 with 3 walks, with 3 runs and 3 RBIs. It was Zach Hudson, 4 for 5, scored twice and had an RBI, and Caleb Cobb and Mason Himes had 2 hits each. In the loss to Walton Verona, it was Zach Hudson and Corey Causey, both 2 for 2, and Tristan Ingram and Caleb Cobb both had a hit. And like we just said, Madison Southern will return to action Monday night over at Berea College against Madison Central. We only had one high school softball game last week. It was the Madison Central Lady Indians traveling up to Scott County on Thursday night to take on their old rivals, the Lady Cardinals. And it was Madison Central picking up the 5-2 victory. Shelby Hensley, a 2-run homer. Hannah Eisen, 2 for 4 with a double and an RBI. Cassidy Hack, 1 for 3 with a run scored, an RBI, and a walk. And Jasmine Kaler was great in the circle. Complete game victory, allowing just 4 hits, 2 runs, and 3 strikeouts. The Lady Indians are back in action Tuesday at Pulaski County. Did have some high school tennis action to report on from last week as well. Berea Community opened its season on Tuesday versus Estill County over at Berea College. The girls rolled to a 6-1 win, while the boys split 6 matches with the Engineers, ended up with a 3-3 tie. In girls singles action, it was Reagan Stepp, Aya Fouch, and Kara Welsh picking up victories, and in boys singles action, it was Chaden Levins and John Wallheiser with victories. Madison Central tennis teams were in action twice this past week. On Tuesday, it was a 5-0 loss, both the boys and girls over at 11th Region powerhouse Henry Clay, but they bounced back on Thursday, taking on Lexington Christian Academy up in Lexington, and the girls picked up a 5-0 win, while the boys were handed a 4-1 loss. In the match with LCA, in girls singles action, it was J.C. Wilson and Leah Crump picking up victories. And also in boys singles action against LCA, it was Brian Pruitt picking up a win. Madison Southern had one tennis match this past week, Wednesday over at Clark County against GRC. And it was the Lady Eagles picking up a 3-2 victory. It was Morgan Benton picking up a singles win, and both of Madison Southern's doubles teams also had victories. So spring sports are picking up, and it'll pick up a lot more this week with a lot more of the, especially softball teams kicking into action. And we'll keep you updated every day as much as we can with every score of every game that we can get our hands on. So moving on to ASUN baseball. EKU playing its first ever ASUN series this past weekend down at North Alabama. And they opened with the series with an 8-6 win on Friday, picked up a 7-4 win on Saturday, and then were handed a 10-1 loss on Sunday. So they opened their very first ASUN conference weekend with a 2-1 win, winning 2 of the 3 games down there to start off the conference play at 2-1. On Friday, the Colonels hit 4 homers, including one by Will King. On Saturday, the Colonels had just 5 hits, but they scored 3 times in the second and third inning to get out to an early lead and held on for the win. And then on Sunday, they gave up 12 hits and had just 2 hits of their own, as North Alabama was able to salvage the last game of that series. EKU now 13-8 on the season, 2-1 in the ASUN. They'll be back in action Tuesday at home against Northern Kentucky. It's also the very first ever ASUN series for the EKU softball team this past weekend. It was the preseason favorite Liberty coming into Richmond, and it was a clean sweep by the Flames. On Saturday, a 10-6 victory, followed by an 11-4 victory. And then on Sunday, Liberty wrapped up the sweep with a 8-1 victory as well. And in the first game, EKU was actually up 6-2, but Liberty scored 6 times in the 7th inning to come from behind and claim that victory. And then in the loss on Sunday, EKU had just 1 hit. Colonels fall to 4-22 on the season, 0-3 in the ASUN, and they'll be back in action next Saturday down in Florida against ASUN rival Jacksonville University. So that's all we got for you this week. We'll have a lot more stuff coming at you going forward here as the spring sports start to really kick into gear. Of course, the best place to keep up with all that is Richmond R Sports on Twitter, and Register Sports, RichmondRegister.com, and Register Sports on Facebook as well. So hang out, don't go anywhere, because we're going to be right back with an interview with Mr. Jeffrey Kinley.
The Richmond Register Sports Show is brought to you by Metronet, superfast internet, simply a better connection. Central Kentucky Pressure Washing, Total Comfort, heating and air conditioning. Let Total Comfort keep you cool or warm this winter. Call for service or for a free replacement quote. And by MEL'S BARBER SHOP, established 2019. Walk-ins welcome. Visit them 102 St. George Street in Richmond. And by kymedia.net, digital media solutions on your terms.
Welcome back. We have a special guest in the studio this week, Madison Central senior Jeffrey Kinley. Thanks for being in here. Thanks for hobbling in here. I know you're on one leg right now, so thanks so much for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
And obviously you have some big news to tell everybody. You put out on social media, I think it was Tuesday night.
Yep.
You're obviously committed to Eastern Kentucky University to play football there, so it's got to be a big moment in your life, huh?
Yeah, it's it's a big decision, especially leaving behind a sport I've done just as long as football with wrestling, and then track too. So definitely a big decision, but I'm excited for it.
Yeah, you in your social media post, you talked about how this has been a dream of yours for a long time to play college football. But like I said, you had obviously you could have probably had some opportunities to play to go wrestle in college as well. So kind of what was your mindset, and kind of what places did you visit, what schools were interested in you, and kind of what eventually kind of brought you to your decision?
Well, I had a bunch of schools recruit me for both. Chattanooga was the biggest competitor though for wrestling. So it really came down to those two, but I just decided, be even more money staying home and be right in my backyard. So no place to do it than, right in your backyard. So yeah. Yeah,
and obviously you have a great connection to EKU. Your mom played volleyball there and was an assistant coach there for a little bit as well. So I guess your mom came from, Ohio? Is that where she lived before? Pennsylvania. She's right off camera over there. But she came from Pennsylvania. So if she hadn't come here to be at EKU, you wouldn't be here in Richmond. So it's very cool that you're staying here at EKU. So there's definitely a family lineage there.
Yeah, definitely. My dad also, transferred and met her too. So it's definitely cool to keep the bloodline going.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about your knee, because this happened in the semifinals of the state wrestling a couple weeks ago. You were taking on a guy named Jude Powell of Fairdale, who I think you'd already beaten this year, right?
Yeah, I killed him earlier in the year. I majored him 13-3 earlier in the year. I was actually winning the match when I got hurt, but just some things out of control. Hate that it happened that way, but life goes on, so it's whatever.
It kind of threw you down on your knee, I guess, and kind of you tore the MCL.
Yeah, it's kind of it was one of those awkward, foot stayed here, all his weight went to my knee, and kind of just an awkward position, and then just felt it pop and tear the MCL.
Yeah. Well, the credit to your toughness, you finished the match. Obviously, you didn't win the match, but you do drop back into the consolation rounds, and you actually wrestled a full another match before you medically DQ'd out of the fifth place match to finish sixth. But you still went back out there and wrestled after you blew the knee out.
No, I finished the match, but I didn't. They told me I couldn't go after that. Well, I wanted to go. I wanted to wrestle again, but they didn't let me wrestle, so I just injury defaulted the rest of the tournament.
Okay.
So.
Okay. All right. Well, I thought you had gone out for the.
Nah, I wish, but they wouldn't let me.
They wouldn't let you.
The doctor wasn't even happy that I finished that match. So.
Yeah. All right. We'll talk about EKU when they started showing some interest in you, and kind of how that kind of eventually developed into an offer.
Well, I went to their camp. Been a couple camps. Went to their camp last summer. Kind of just developed throughout the season. Towards the end of the season, started communicating back and forth. Me showing interest, them showing interest in me too, wanting to play for them. So just kind of happened like that. So
yeah, and obviously you did so many different things for Central, defensive back or cornerback, depending on what you want to call it, and then you obviously kickoff returns. You did a little offense. So kind of where do they see you fitting in at this point?
Probably defensive side of the ball, back there in the secondary. So
okay. We kind of reflect on this year for Madison Central football. It was coming off a one-win year. You guys, a new coach. I don't think anybody expected what happened to have happened, to get all the way to the state Final Four and lose to the team that won the state championship eventually. But there was just some magic around that team. Yeah,
just definitely a historic season. Defied a lot of odds. Proved a lot of people wrong. So the bar's been set really. Nobody thought we'd be there. We actually, we're in place to win the game, and I think if we would have won that game, we probably would end up winning it. But fell short. Had everything to be proud of, though, so very proud.
Yeah, you had a big lead there in the first half. You guys kind of sometimes look back at that and go, dang, man, if we just would have been able to get probably one more score there in the first half, maybe would have been different.
I think we scored at the end of we were down on the goal line. I think we scored there to make it 28-7. We kind of put it away, but it happens, so.
Yeah. We'll kind of talk about your relationship. It was Coach Wells that gave you the offer. So kind of, obviously I know his son plays on the team, and that's not any recruiting violation or anything. We don't want to get into all that. But, I mean, just obviously he knew you locally here, and what it meant to get an offer from those guys.
Well, another thing, too, Coach Johnson, the D coordinator at EKU, I'm actually pretty close with my family and, his family. So it kind of happened like that, too. But, it's great. Great to be able to play for a program like EKU who's growing and, getting better each year. So. Yeah.
And talk about your recovery here. What's the process here? It was just last.
It's
only been about a week and a half since you had the surgery, so.
Yeah, I had surgery last Tuesday. Recovery, hopefully faster than they're saying. So.
What are they telling you?
5.5 months, 6 months, so I can run and jump. So.
Yeah. All right, well, that'll put you in a good spot. I mean, obviously, probably looking at redshirting your first year at EKU, I would guess, with the injury.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. So we'll see.
That'd be the easiest thing, the smart thing to do, I guess.
Yeah.
But, all right, we'll talk about what other schools are interested in you in both football and wrestling, or one or the other or both.
Football, EKU, and then a bunch of smaller schools. Center College was heavily recruiting. Who else? Several others I can't think of right now. But wrestling, Chattanooga, Campbellsville, who's a strong program, Cumberland's. And then track, I had Valpo hit me up, and then Lake Erie College, their D2 school in Ohio. So, yeah.
Does that count? Is it Chattanooga? Is that where he ended up at?
No, Bellarmine. He ended up at Bellarmine, but they also recruited me in wrestling, too.
Okay. All right. So, yeah, we've got a lot of people out there doing lots of things. So, Quentin, what they got you doing right now? Just pretty much just staying off of it? And, I mean, you can't really do anything, rehab just quite yet?
Yeah, just staying off of it, being smart, icing, elevating, ibuprofen, Tylenol, that type of thing. So, that's about it.
Yeah, this is the first time you ever had anything like this before, huh? I mean, I know we've had some kids in here that have gone through 2 of these, but this is just your first one, right?
Yeah, this is my first one.
Okay. Did you kind of know right away? I mean, when it happened, or kind of what was that feeling like when in the match there?
Well, I knew something wasn't good, but my mindset, my mentality, I had to finish the match because I had one goal in mind. That was to win a state title, so I knew how to get up and keep going.
Yeah, well, it had to be disappointing for you, but you did medal 4 times at the state, so that's I mean, looking back on it, you got to be pretty proud of what you accomplished. Yeah,
all the hard work and dedication, everything to be proud of. So.
Yeah. All right. Well, obviously you're not going to be able to do track and field this year, and that's a disappointment too, because you got to the state in a couple of events last year, some of the relays and stuff. So that kind of has to hurt your heart a little bit there, I guess. Yeah,
it does. Track, we had big goals for last season. Fell a little bit short, but we were looking hungry to achieve those goals this year. But with this, definitely breaks my heart. But I'll be supporting for sure.
Yeah. Did you ever do the pole vault one year?
I did not. I'd like to though. It looks fun.
Yeah. Well, earlier this week we went over there and did a little pole vault thing with Wyatt Stewart. So
he's a beast.
We're going to jump to that here in a few minutes. That'll be the closing of our show. But it looks scary though, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
You go 16 feet in the air. I mean, on that pole you could impale yourself and kill yourself on that. So, but no, but you're smart. You just stick to the sprinting events mostly. Yeah, well, you just long jump and triple jump and stuff like that. So, which ones were the favorites? I know you did some of the relays too.
Honestly, long jump was probably my favorite, but the one I was best at, I didn't really, I liked it, but it's hard. 400's a tough race. That was probably the one I was best at, though.
Yeah, those mid-range ones are tough.
Yeah.
It's not a sprint. It's not a distance. It's kind of in the middle there. So, all right, man. We'll wish you the best going forward, and we'll look forward to watching you out there and wearing the maroon and the white over at Hanger Field at the Roy Kidd Stadium. So, good luck to you. I know it's going to be a long recovery. I know your mom had to help you come in out of the car and get in here. You got your leg all propped up here, but I know you're a fighter. You'll get through it, and you'll be just fine. And we look forward to watching you play over at EKU, man. So congratulations.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, we'll be right back with a little pole vaulting 101 with Wyatt Stewart.
The Richmond Register Sports Show is brought to you by Metronet, superfast internet, simply a better connection. Central Kentucky Pressure Washing. Total Comfort, heating and air conditioning. Let Total Comfort keep you cool or warm this winter. Call for service or for a free replacement quote. And by MEL'S BARBER SHOP, established 2019. Walk-ins welcome. Visit them 102 St. George Street in Richmond. And by KYmedia.net, digital media solutions on your terms.
We are here at Madison Central High School with the 2021 KHSAA Class 3A state champion in the pole vault, Mr. Wyatt Stewart. Thanks for being with us today.
Thank you.
Appreciate you being here, and we're going to give you kind of a little pole vault 101 today, and kind of Wyatt's going to walk us through a lot of the different aspects of this this event, and it's a lot more complicated than people would expect, I think.
Yeah, a little bit. It's not too bad. I mean, you get through it.
Yeah. Well, when did you start? Because you've had a great amount of success. You're the state record holder now, the highest jump ever in the state of Kentucky. But it's like, when did you kind of get going in all this?
I started late October in my 6th grade year, so 5 years I'm going on now, and just started jumping since then. Now, jumping 17.5 feet.
Yeah. So kind of what kind of sparked your interest in this event?
They tried to get my brother to do it, but he wanted to stay with cross country, and I wanted to do something else that he wasn't doing. So Monty was the cross country coach, and now we're pole vaulting.
Yeah, Monty Orchard, who's the kind of the pole vault guru around Central Kentucky, and he kind of knows all things pole vault, and he's really kind of coached a lot of the best athletes to come out of this area.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, he has the cross country team a little bit and pole vault, so we got a lot of high jumpers now.
Okay. All right, well, you were just at a national event last weekend. Kind of tell us a little bit about that.
Oh, that was fun.
I think you didn't do as well as you wanted to, but you still finished like sixth or seventh nationally.
I tied for 6th with an open height of 16.3, so 5.95 or 4.95, and got that on second attempt. Tied for 6th. Not the best, but can't really complain with 6th place.
Yeah, and you guys have, like your dad was just telling me earlier, you guys have been everywhere, thousands and thousands of miles over the past couple of years, even during the pandemic. And you guys were going to go to an event this weekend, but you guys decided not to, just to get some extra rest. But you guys have definitely racked up the frequent flyer miles.
Yeah, no, we've traveled so much, and you just need a break after a bit. But I've traveled a lot. We've been all around. We went to Reno not too long ago at the beginning of the year. We went to Texas. Now we're in New York. We're going every corner of the United States. So.
Okay. All right, we're going to kind of break this down for you a little bit, kind of piece by piece here. And actually, I'm really interested to learn a lot of things about this sport as well. So let's start with the poles. We'll walk over here and talk about the poles. There are all kinds of different lengths and weights and everything. So we'll you'll use multiple during a meet, right?
Yeah, I have. In my bag, I have about 8 or 9 poles, and they're all the same brand. None of these are the poles I jump on. I jump on composite poles, which are made of carbon fiber and fiberglass. These, from all I know, are fiberglass, and that's most common.
Okay. And interestingly enough, your dad told me you guys rent these. I mean, your competition ones are actually, you guys rent those.
Yeah, we rent them from a guy, Jim Hill, out in Missouri. And so he's been giving us poles for a year or two. And so that's why I use in competition. I use from 15.5 foot to 16 foot poles, 180 pounds to 190 pounds. So that's why I'm using in competition.
And that's not the weight of the actual pole. They don't weigh 189.
No, that's how much it can. That's how much weight it can hold. How much pressure it can hold.
Yeah.
So this pole right here, this is a 15-foot 3, so it's 15 feet 3 inches. It's a fiberglass pole. It can withstand 185 pounds of pressure, and it has a flex number of 18.4. That's the technical part. But if you're not wanting to get into technical parts, then you just look at the weight of it. So these poles are just really good. Everyone usually likes these fiberglass poles. There's certain people that like using carbon poles. That's why I'm using, but these are also really good. And there's many different pole brands, many different variants of poles. They usually go from about 10 feet to 17.5 feet in length.
Yeah. And the weight in them is differently dispersed?
Yeah, weight usually goes from about 70 pounds to about 220 maybe. Okay. So it can withstand up to that amount. Olympians are on 17 foot, 200, 190, 200 pound poles.
Okay. And you'll kind of base what length and what weight you do on the kind of where you're at and what height you're going to and the standards and all that stuff?
Yeah, you started off on performance. So a lot of vaulters start off on about like 9-10 foot poles using about like 110 pounds. And then slowly you work up. Like I started off on that and I'm only on 16 foot poles or 185 pounds, which is a lot, but it can still go higher.
Yeah, and you keep going higher and higher. So let's take one of these poles and come out here and kind of talk about grip. And where you
So this is the pole I would be using normally for a practice. That's as I said, a 15.3 185, and we have these marks on the ground. You can't really see them, but we have this tape measure laid out. This is where you'd start on the runway. So you have different amount of steps that you take. I, in competition, would take about 16 steps. So I'm all the way back there at about 115 feet. And we take that run to make our energy to put into the pole. So I only weigh 160 pounds, but I put about 185 pounds of pressure into the pole. And so you use that run to gain the extra weight that you need and extra energy.
But it's not a dead sprint though, right? You want to have it controlled.
Yeah, you're wanting to start off a bit slower and build up into it, because if you start off sprinting, you're going to lose energy at the end. So you're wanting to start off slower and build up into it.
Okay. And now show us the grip there and show us how it, obviously you start up and then you drop it down.
So most people have a different grip. Some people, like Drew over there, was gripping this low. We tried to get him to spread that out. I grip about this far on the pole, and that's just what's comfortable to me. It's just picking up the pole. It just feels natural. So it's really just what feels best for you. So I pick up the pole. You usually have this hand underneath of you, almost like this.
You're right-handed.
Yeah, right-handed. Left-handed would be the opposite side. Trying to work on that. But you start with your bottom hand facing out, and your top hand barely holding it, facing away from you. And your elbow's kind of, it's not really tucked in, but it's like a nice neutral position. And all you do is you carry the pole and just drop it straight up like that.
Okay. You have to kind of time out when you start to drop that pole. So kind of in your mind, and in obviously the tape measure here kind of gives you the measurements, right?
Yeah, we count our steps in our head. So out loud, we're usually going and 7, and 6, and 5. And that's just how many steps we have left. We start lowering them around at 3, and usually plant the pole right before our last step. And another thing about the pole is you're wanting to make sure it's faced upwards, because there's a natural bend in the pole, and so it will go down like that. So you're wanting to make sure that side is down like that, so then the pole goes up. Make it so much easier to bend.
Okay. Use a little more spring off that, I guess.
Yeah.
Right? All right, so as we're approaching here, obviously the goal there is to get the end of that pole into the right spot, into the pit here.
Yeah.
So we'll walk up here and show you that, because if you miss that spot, you're probably not going to get a very good bounce up there.
Yeah, it's not really too fun to miss it, but Jan Johnson made this. Some people say it helps, some people say it makes it much harder, but American high school has to have it. We have these marks on the ground to show where you jump from. So ours are a bit faded, but this helps the coach figure out where you're jumping from. Because if I'm taking off at 11, I need to be around 13 on my takeoff, because that's straight up and down. If I'm at 12, my hips are going to go under and I'm not going to fully make it in. And if I'm out, I'm going to fall straight down like that. So we want to be in a nice neutral position like that and just go straight into it. And that's really just to help the coaches. We can't see that while we're jumping, obviously, so that's really just for them. Okay. And as you can see, we have it from 8 to 13, 14 feet.
Okay. Something I've always wondered about is, obviously we talk about the height, and the height will go up as the meet goes along, and you have three chances to clear each height. You clear it once, you go up to the next height. Yep. But I've always wondered about the standards. Can we come around here to the sides and you kind of explain to me what the standards are all about? Because not only does this move upwards, it moves backwards and forwards as well.
So standards usually in competition will move from 18 inches to 31.5 or 45 centimeters to 80 centimeters. And we pull this forward and back depending on where we are in the vault. So if you're not making it in fully, if your pole is only barely getting you in, you might want to either move to a lighter pole or you might want to bring your standards forward. And so this is really just the biggest part for athletes, because it's centimeters that can really determine whether you make a jump or not. Like Jordan in New York missed a bar because he had his standards 2 centimeters back. So you really want to make sure you can dial this in. And so if you're getting too far in, then you're wanting to push them back, everything like that. So this is really just putting the bar where it should be.
Yeah, because you'll come up and your turn will come up and they'll say the height, and then you tell them what standards you want, and they come over here and move this.
Yeah,
the workers over here do.
Yeah. So they try and do everything to make the jump as easy as possible for you. So the bar height won't move. However, they can move the standards or where the bar placement is. so then you have an easier chance at clearing it.
And literally every competitor could have a different standard if they
Yeah. Rules say you have to stay in between 45 and 80 centimeters, or 18 inches to 31.5. That's just because once you get too far in, you might land in the box. So
yeah.
It's all just dependent on how you are as a jumper. I know people that jump only at 45, and I know people that jump at mostly 80. So it all depends on the jumper.
Yeah. Okay, so obviously once you come down this thing and you get your pole planted, hopefully in the pit, the thing there is the challenge is to try to spring yourself up over that thing, and of course avoid hitting the pole. If you knock the pole off, then it's a fault. So, so kind of walk us through that process of just how you create that springing motion to get you up over the pole.
So by the time we leave the ground and are over the bar, there's about 30 different things we're doing. Whether you can see them or not, it looks like one smooth motion because that's our job to make it as easy as possible. But there's 30 different technical things in there. I'm not going to get into all of them. Mostly the important parts are the takeoff, which is just the jumping part. You have the swing, which is where you have your leg moving through here. That's creating most of your energy to get you upside down. Then you have the invert and the turn, which usually combine together. That's where you start to move, where you're getting your hips over the bar so it can lower your center of gravity. And that's also where you're going up more. And then we have the pike, which is the most crucial part probably, because that's the part where you're over the bar. And then the falling part. That's probably the easiest.
Once you could do that part.
Yeah. Once you get up over that bar though, you've got to throw that pole back so it doesn't hit the bar as you go over.
Yeah. Well, that's how it is for a lot of beginners. I've gotten to the point where my pole won't hit the bar, but we have to throw the pole to give us more energy to go up. So we use that pole bend and the elasticity of it and our strength to throw ourselves off the pole.
Well, you've actually got to the point where the bar is higher than the pole.
Yeah, that's...
It's not going to hit the pole.
Yeah, it makes it so much easier. You don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, I noticed that at the state meet last year. You're sitting out there and the pole is, the bar is way up above the pole, so...
Yeah, because that messes up a lot of jumpers, so once you get to that point, it makes it so much easier.
Just 16 and a half feet in the air, though. So, you went 7 at state last year?
I went at the state meet. I think I went 16.1. Okay. But the highest I jumped last year was 16.7.
It was an event here.
Yeah, 5 meters 05. So, yeah, 16.7 here, but it didn't count unless it was at the state meet, which I got 16.1.
Yeah, it's a weird cage to say you rule it for it to be a state record. It has to be done at the state championships, but you did it anyway.
Yeah.
That's what you came. That's funny. We talked to you afterwards, and you came into that with 2 goals. You wanted not only to win the state championship, but to break the record as well.
Yeah, that was my main thing because I had been training with Chip Heiser for a little bit, and he was the former record holder. So that just made it much better to want to just beat the record. Yeah. You get to know the person, then you want to do better than what they did.
Yeah, and of course you broke the central record a long time ago. Danny Castle's record. You said 8th grade you broke that?
I broke that my 8th grade year whenever I jumped 14 feet 6 inches at Chip Heiser's school. I jumped 14.6, and that beat the state or the school record by 6 inches, which hadn't been broke for since 80 something. So it's been there for a while.
Yeah, I guess you and Danny are the only 2 Madison Central athletes to ever win a state pole vault championship.
Yeah, so far from what I know.
Well, you got some other Jordan Briner. He's a year behind you, and like your dad was just telling me. I mean, if you weren't here, he might be winning the state championship.
Yeah, no, he's jumped higher than Danny Castle has. He's jumped 14.6, but he hasn't jumped in a high school meet. So we'll see what he does.
Who else you got out here with you?
That's Reagan Wright. He's the same grade as me.
Junior.
Yeah, junior year. Jumping 13.6, I think. 13.1, 13.6. And that's Drew Masters. He's a freshman. He's a bit of a character. He jumps 11.6, 12. Hey Drew, how high do you jump? 12 feet, supposedly. That's my dad. He's our coach right now. Makes it hard on me because he's my dad and the coach. But we got several other athletes. We have 4 more, I think, that aren't here right now. Some are competing. Some are doing school projects and stuff like that. Some don't feel good. Yeah. But these are the ones that decided to show up and jump today. So.
Well, it's interesting, the little community of pole vaulters, too, because even kids that are at other schools, you all kind of hang together. You all kind of know each other through either through Monty or through other people, and so there's kind of a little group there.
Yeah. Well, even like at national meets, like I went to New York the other day, and we all acted like friends because that's what we are. Because this sport's not really us competing against each other, but us competing against ourselves and trying to clear the highest bar. So it's more of us against the bar than us against everyone else. So we just want everyone to jump higher, and that's really the main goal of it, is to jump higher and have everyone else jump higher.
Yeah.
It's fun to win, but everyone should do good.
Well, it's fun when you get to the state meet too, and like you did, and they announce over the PA that Wyatt Stewart is going for a state record, and like the whole crowd stops to look at you.
Yeah.
And I guess that could be fun and also kind of nerve-wracking, I guess.
It doesn't nerve-wrack me at all. I tend to jump better when I have a crowd. I don't know if it's adrenaline or if I'm just really wanting attention or what, but I just tend to jump much better whenever I have a whole crowd. I'll get a clap going, and that will help me get tempo and everything down. I'll jump higher. And I just love crowd interaction. Messes with some people, but I love it.
Okay. All right, well, the track season will open up here in a couple of weeks. I guess you guys, when's your first meet?
Next Wednesday at Tate's Creek. I won't be jumping there, but we have a meet here.
29th, I think?
Yeah, somewhere around then. That'll be my first day jumping, I'm pretty sure, as for my junior year at Central. So.
Yeah. All right. Well, congratulations on all your success. I think there's 4 all-comers meets out here this year, right?
4 or 5, yeah something like that.
Yeah, those are always great events, and you have to wait a long time to see him jump, though, because you skip all the thing about pole vault. You can skip you can basically jump in whenever you want at whatever height, but of course there's a risk there. If you miss, then you don't record a score, but you usually sit out here and wait for about 2 hours before you jump in.
Yeah, meet usually starts at 6 or 7. I don't jump until 9 or 10 usually, so. I get to have fun, walk around, talk to people, so it's not too bad.
Yeah. All right. Well, congratulations on all your success. We look forward to seeing what you can do this year, and already got 1 state championship under your belt, and you go for 1, maybe 2 more in the next couple of years.
What we're hoping for.
Right. You keep going higher and higher and higher. I mean, you never know what you're going to do. So, well, congratulations. Thanks for the tutorial here. It's a really fascinating. It's an event that I'm sure a lot of people don't know about. I'm sure you get a lot of your friends and stuff are probably like, hey, how does that work?
Yeah, a little bit. Some people are interested about it. Some people tend not to really care. But.
Yeah. Well, you got other kids joining you now, so I guess once you have that kind of success, I guess people want to join in and be part of that.
Yeah, it really spreads the word whenever you have the second in the nation jumping at your school. It really gets people interested. But you got a good school here, so a lot of people are interested.
Yeah. You have some female jumpers too, right?
Yeah, we have 2 female jumpers here. I say 3 because I have one girl. We have another girl at another school that's just basically our own jumper too. So. Yeah. But yeah, we have 2 jumpers here.
We'll give them a shout out. Who was
Rachel Gross, Elliot Pennell, and Caitlin Kane.
Okay.
Are 3 jumpers. Elliot is from Henry Clay.
Yeah. Caitlin got to the state last year, right?
Yeah, Caitlin jumped state. I don't know what she jumped, 11.6 maybe. But I don't know what she placed either, but she jumped high too.
Yeah. All right. Well, it's fun to watch you. We appreciate you taking the time and giving us a little tutorial here. I learned a lot. Randy, did you learn something out here?
I learn something every day from you, Nate.
Well, he knew Danny Castle back in the day. That's how old Randy is. So. All right. Well, that'll wrap up this week's edition of the Richmond Register Sports Show. Appreciate you guys watching. Appreciate Wyatt and his folks for coming out here and showing us around a little bit. So we'll be back next week with a brand new show, premiering at Sunday nights at 9 o'clock. And as always, the best place to keep up with us is at Richmond R Sports on Twitter or on Register Sports on Facebook. So see you next week.
The Richmond Register Sports Show is brought to you by Metronet, superfast internet, simply a better connection. Central Kentucky Pressure Washing, Total Comfort, heating and air conditioning. Let Total Comfort keep you cool or warm this winter. Call for service or for a free replacement quote. And by MEL'S BARBER SHOP, established 2019. Walk-ins welcome. Visit them 102 St. George Street in Richmond. And by kymedia.net, digital media solutions on your terms. Thanks for watching the Richmond Register Sports Show. For more information about all things sports in Madison County, log on to richmondregister.com or on Twitter. And like us, Register Sports on Facebook. Get the Richmond Register directly to your mailbox or get the app online and visit richmondregister.com.